Well, good morning, everyone. It is 9 o'clock, so we are going to get started. So I thank everyone for being here. I thank everyone for joining us for this VBS training. For the for those of you who are going to stay and decorate and stuff, we thank you for that right now. So before we begin, especially you younger people, put away your phones. If I see your phone out during this, I am going to take your phone for the rest of the day. So, Carson, stop. Okay, this is the most boring part of the training, but it is required by New York State. It is the harassment training. Because our ultimate goal here is we want to keep our kids safe and we want to keep you safe, and New York State requires us to go through this each year. So that is what we're going to do. And so what we're going to, hopefully you grabbed a sheet. If you don't have a sheet, they're in the back here. Ignore the last page with the quiz because you're here. You don't have to do the quiz. All of you, some of you maybe did the quiz already, but that's fine. But as long as you're here, you don't have to do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to understand and constitute what harassment and abuse, including sexual harassment, is, recognize warning signs, learn how to report and respond appropriately. And our ultimate goal is we are here to be a loving, safe, and respectable place for all of our people here. And that is just the foundation of us as followers of Jesus Christ. We treat others with respect and dignity. Matthew 7 says this, "Do unto others that you would have them do to you. This is the essence of all that is taught in the law and prophets." 1 Peter says this, "Finally, all of you should be of one mind, sympathizing with each other. Love each other as brothers and sisters, be tender-hearted, and keep a humble attitude." We take protecting others seriously here at St. Luke, especially those who we consider vulnerable. Proverbs says this, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Ensure justice for those being crushed. Yes, speak up for the poor and the helpless, and see that they get justice." So the first thing we need to do is we need to kind of figure out what all this is, understand this. And so the first is just harassment in general. And harassment is a form of discrimination, including sexual. It happens when somebody experiences unwanted, offensive, or humiliating comments or behaviors. Harassment becomes unlawful when enduring the offense conducted becomes a condition of continued employment, membership, or being able to volunteer. The conduct is so severe or perverse, each enough to create a work environment that a reasonable person would consider intimidating, hostile, or abusive. This includes unwelcome behavior of the sexual nature, including jokes, comments, touching, and advances. So let me just, and this is kind of where you guys get let me give you some examples. There will be no inappropriate comments between other people. There will be no unwelcome advances or flirtations. There will be no offensive jokes or comments about gender, race, or disability. We will not display offensive images, including memes, videos, or posters. There is no unwelcome touch or physical closeness. We won't repeat requests of dates, dispute refusal. So that's like if you get fired, that's just that really doesn't apply to us. But let's get specifically when it comes in sexual harassment or abuse. Sexual harassment is any unwelcome sexual advance, request, or sexual favor, or other verbal or physical contact of a sexual nature that makes a person feel uncomfortable, intimidated, or unsafe. It is especially serious when it affects a person's ability to work, worship, volunteer, or participate fully in church life. Sexual abuse is unwanted sexual activity forced on someone by another, especially where power or trust is misused. And there are consequences to this. It can have effects on the victim. It can cause trauma, shame, fear, or lifelong spiritual or emotional impact. So let me just give you some examples. Inappropriate or suggestive jokes or comments, unwanted touching, hugging, or standing too close, comments about a person's appearance or body, repeated invitation for dates or intimacy after being told no, sharing sexual images, texts, or media, sexually teasing, bullying, or rumors, making someone feel that they must comply to keep their job or role. And any questions about any of those kind of things that we have gone over? So let's talk about us and how this applies and how this applies especially to VBS. And the first thing we need to understand is we need to understand what is right and what is wrong. When an adult or an older youth crosses physical, emotional, or relational limits that are in place to protect children, these violations might not always be illegal, but they are inappropriate and often serve as warning signs for grooming or abuse. So let me just tell you kind of some of our policies. The good thing about our building is filled with cameras everywhere. But you need to be very aware of not being specifically on one-on-one situations with a child. There should be no reason these kids are old enough to go to the bathroom on their own. These kids, and if you go, but there should be no reason that you're one-on-one alone with a child, especially in places where you can be hidden from other people. Yes, there are, like this stairwell over here is an easy example, or other places. Just be aware of that. Touching guidelines. There are safe touches and there are unsafe touches. Safe touches are respectful. They're appropriate. They make people cared for and loved. They should never make someone feel confused or scared or uncomfortable. And so what are some examples of good touches? High fives after doing a good job, a handshake or a fist bump, a pat on the back or shoulder for encouragement, a side hug only when it is welcomed, holding hands when crossing the street, especially for our younger kids, helping someone when they're hurt, as in, helping them up gently, putting a Band-Aid on them, helping them wash their hands. And I think hopefully all of you get that. But then there are unsafe touches. Unsafe touches are inappropriate. They are hurtful. They are secretive. They can make people feel scared, confused, uncomfortable. Even if that is not your intention, these are things that we are going to avoid. First, there will be no physical violence whatsoever. No punching, no hitting, no slapping, no spitting, no pinching, no physical violence whatsoever. That will not be tolerated. We don't tickle the kids. We don't force a hug or a kiss from a kid, even if that kid is a family member. This is one that I know some of you struggle with, but lap sitting. Now, I know it is different for our pre-K kids versus our older kids, but this is the world we live in now. And so we're going to try to avoid that at all cost. Touching private areas of someone else's body or asking them to touch yours. And the rule is the swimsuit rule. No one should touch you where your swimsuit covers, and you should not touch anyone else where their swimsuit covers. Touching that is meant to be done in secret. Touching someone under their clothes. There are safe touches and there are unsafe touches. And so part of this to make this all So you guys don't have to take the quiz. We need to have some examples. We need to have some role playing. So I'm gonna say a few things, and you let me know whether you would consider this a safe touch or an unsafe touch. A kid falls down and it hurts their knees, and you help them up. Is that an unsafe touch or a safe touch? You want to give a kid a hug, but the kid doesn't want a hug from you. What should you do? A kid's hands are dirty and you help them wash them. Is that a safe touch or an unsafe touch? Now, here's some things that we also need to discuss and you need to understand. Sometimes kids are going to initiate stuff. A kid's going to run up to you, a kid's going to give you a big hug. That happens. We're not the ones initiating the things. It can't be you initiating it. If they initiate it, it's fine, it's okay, but we don't initiate. I know some kids are huggers, some kids aren't huggers. My goal is to not make you scared and make you, well, I can't. No, there are good, safe things that we can do, but there are things that, and this is where it leads into, that could be viewed as inappropriate or what could lead to what is called grooming behavior. Give me the phone. Oh, it's Amelia? Sorry, Amelia, you're fine. Okay, question, Louise. I will get there. Okay. So we're moving on to number 5. It's the third page, grooming behavior. Grooming behavior, manipulative actions intended to gain someone's trust. It can be a child or adult to exploit, abuse, or sexually harm them later. We need to be really cautious of these behaviors because they might not be intentional, but they can lead to really bad things. So examples of grooming behavior. Giving one child special attention, special gifts, special privileges. It's the idea of like, you're my favorite kid, you're the number one kid in the class, and so I'm gonna give all my attention to you. Isolating the child from the group, asking for private meetings for them, seeking alone time with the child, offering rides, asking them to meet before or after VBS, offering extensive physical contacts like hugs and lap sitting and tickling, which we won't be doing, giving them your phone number or social media accounts so that they can contact you later. So here's the big thing. You might have the intention of, I'm just pouring extra love into this kid because they need extra love, and that's okay. However, we need to always be cautious because people who abuse children, these are often the early signs that lead to abuse. So let's do some of the role-playing stuff. You give a child a gift without their parents' knowledge. Is that appropriate or inappropriate? Here's the thing. You never just give one child a gift. If you crew leaders, you want to buy something special for your entire group, that's one thing versus giving it for one kid who that kind of turns into, you're my favorite, you're my special one. Jimmy seems to listen more than anyone in class, so you call on Jimmy more than the others. Is that appropriate or inappropriate? Actually, no, that's fine. Jimmy's your go-to guy. What it becomes inappropriate is when you only call on Jimmy, or you say this about, it is a fine line. And so here's the issue. Better safe than sorry. So a lot of times, and here's when I very first started ministry. So my first foray into ministry, I was right out of high school. I was volunteering with middle school kids in my church's youth group. I was volunteering with middle school kids in another youth organization. And the very first book they made me read was a book called Better Safe Than Sued. And you might think, really? It is, and I gotta say, this we are talking about, this is going on almost 30 years ago. And the world has just gotten even more different. And I'm not saying better, and I'm not saying worse, but I'm saying with, the vast majority of these kids are going to have cell phones out there and have social media accounts and have different other things. And so while we love and care for these kids, and sometimes some kids need to have a little more poured into them, it is never done in secret. It is never done without permission of parents. It is never done for just, focusing the attention on one kid, because you might have the best intention in the world and a loving Christian heart, but is somebody going to view that as they are offering way too much attention to this one kid? Why? Does that make sense? Sure, give me a scenario, because that's good. Yeah. You can, first of all, it's in a group setting. It's not like, that's fine. What becomes leading to when we're not going to pull that one student aside and say, you're the greatest student ever, you're the best one, here's this special gift from me to you. That's where the line becomes, okay, what's going on here? In the big group setting, and I think that's when you make the point, hey guys, Jimmy's the only one who's done this. That's why Jimmy's getting all the answers right. Yeah. We're trying not to show specific favoritism to one specific child. Inappropriate conversations, verbal interactions between adults, older youths, and our children that cross healthy boundaries, make people feel uncomfortable, or undermine the spiritual and emotional safety of the environment. Once again, jokes and comments of a sexual innuendo, discussing romantic or sexual relationships, asking children about their bodies, crushes, or physical development, teasing or mocking a child's appearance, family, or personality, trying to force your political views on others, sharing your personal problems, your marriage issues, your financial troubles, venting about church politics or a staff member. There should be no reason that we have these conversations with children about your personal life, about the stuff going on here at church. Any more questions or anything about that? So what do we do? Here's the thing that you should, if you have questions, if you wonder, then bring them up. Bring them up to me, bring them up to Ann or Michelle, and we will take the next steps necessary that need to be handled, including the fact, so what happens if you have a kid who comes up to you and says, my mom and dad beat me. And so you bring that to me, you bring that to Ann and Michelle, and then we will take the next steps appropriate. If you question anything, speak up. And it's important that we will document all the things that are happening. But here's the important thing when you're with a child, and for you, for our younger helpers, if you need help, go with your older helpers, or go find me, go find Miss Annie, go find Michelle. We are going to remain calm. We're going to listen. We do not promise to keep secrets. This is what I tell people when they come in for me, and I tell this to our kids in confirmation class. I have to do what is appropriate to get you the help you need. We report stuff to Anna or Michelle. We reassure the child that they are doing the right thing. Any other questions? Any other comments? Anything else? So, on the back there is a quiz. You were all here for this, so you don't have to take the quiz. If you took the quiz, great, but so what we'll need from all of you, and Ann or Michelle, I don't know, did everybody sign in? Okay, if you're signed in, then you have done the training that needs to be done for this year. And so I'm going to hand it over to our VBS directors. Okay, Rich, question? Yes, those. Yeah, and that would be appropriate touch versus and we know there will be some kids with special needs here. We have specific helpers assigned to those kids to help them out too. So to give them some more cared attention. So let me just close with this. We're here to love on these kids. We're here to show them what genuine Christ-like love is all about. And so we're going to protect them, and we're going to protect you, because the last thing I don't need you to be accused of something that you didn't do. So I'm here to protect you too. Some of this isn't just to keep them safe, it's to keep you safe. That's why I don't want you ever alone with a child in a hallway so they come up and go, so-and-so touched me inappropriately, and we have no... All right, well, I'm going to turn it over to our VBS directors, and we're going to move on from there.